This is a show with no particular niche, baby. It's always about hanging out. Maybe we'll laugh at some stuff, maybe we'll learn something new, but it's always about hanging out, me and you. Hi, hello, and welcome to That Thing with James, a podcast about nothing in particular. I'm your host, James, and I'm breaking shit apparently. Oh my god, I can't get rid of this armadillo. Go this way. Oh Christ, I just threw it in the dog food. Hi, I'm your host, James, and this is a podcast about nothing in particular. Thanks for tuning in. This is the start of the show. If you're familiar with this show, so I've actually got a topic I'm gonna cover today. It's a fun one. We'll see how fun it turns out to be. If you're familiar with this show, then you may be familiar with my process. This is not scripted. This is all improvised, and I will maybe pick a topic. Sometimes I'll ramble. Today I'm just picking a topic I've been wanting to cover for a while, and then I finally remembered. It's been on my mind for like weeks, and then I would forget about it. And then I finally remembered it, and I'm going to do it today. So I've got some articles pulled up that I've sort of skimmed over a bit, and we're just going to go from there. That's how it goes with this show. Not scripted, all improvised, just a hangout sesh. Me and you and possibly whoever else is with you. What's up? Welcome to the show. Hi. Now, before we get into it, I've got a Patreon with a bunch of bonus episodes, literally over 100 bonus episodes. We might be in the 100-teen episodes now, almost into 120s. Bonus episodes at patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. $5 bare minimum entry will get you access for 30 days to all of those episodes. And there are various tiers that offer other perks. You can find that at patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. Help support an independent artiste like myself. And to those of you who are already patrons, thank you so much. You rock. And I have socials, subreddit, show email that I never check. You can find those things all written, along with the Patreon link, written in the episode description. Yeah, it's right there on your podcast or on the YouTube. You go below the video and expand description. Also, audio listeners, in case you didn't know, this show is on YouTube. It's the same thing, except it's the same thing you're hearing, except you get to see my pretty visage. And I may, if I have the time and feel so inclined, include some pictures. I think this episode will warrant some graphics. Not graphic images, but graphics. Pictures of what I'm going to be talking about. Yeah. So that's all the upfront news. Now we're going to get into the topic. Let me pull up my articles, and we will get into it in just a second. I'm going to start with some phrases because, well, it occurred to me yesterday. I may be mistaken. However, I cannot recall a generation in the United States making fun of the Australian accent, specifically the accent. And that's not to say Australia has one accent. It has many accents because it has many different regions. But we're just going to go with the general accent here. I'm 37 years old, and throughout my entire life, I cannot recall a single generation in my country making fun of specifically Australia's accents, more so, or ever before, millennials. Nar, I nar. You know, that sort of thing. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you just learned it. I don't know. So, with that in mind, I'm going to start with reading some this is on Babbel.com. Phrases in Australian. Now, I do not claim, I'm going to say this up front, I do not claim to have a very good Australian impression. I am simply going to do my best, and hopefully, if you're watching this, you might be able to tell hopefully my new haircut can cover up any lack that I have in excellence at emulating the Australian accent. And see, yeah. You can make fun of me if you want, as I make fun of Australians. I've got I have an acquaintance from Australia, and she still lives in Australia. I met her at a hostel when I was living in a hostel for a couple weeks. Good on ya. That's one. Number two, you little ripper / you little beauty. Meaning, that's terrific. How excellent. Oh, there's meanings. Okay. Yeah. So good on ya, meaning well done, good stuff. A general term of appreciation directed at people who've done something well or nice, like buying another round of drinks or cooking dinner. Add mate or love to the end for extra points. What is it? Good on ya, beauty. Good on ya, love. Good on ya, mate. And then you little ripper. That's terrific. How excellent. This expression is typically roared at the TV upon seeing that your betting horse has won the race, or after finding out that your last meeting of the day has been canceled. Number three, to crack on somebody. To crack on somebody. Oh, meaning to try to kiss someone, to try to pick someone up. Why don't you have a crack at her? Yeah, have a little crack at me. And this, I know in Irish there's Craig, which means crazy, I think, which means good. We're having a crack time, something like that. She's been cracking on to him all night is an example of how you might use this Australian accent. Expect to hear it in pubs and at barbecues. Put another shrimp on the barbie. If two people pash, P-A-S-H, that's Aussie. Ooh, for kissing passionately. Crack on, baby, let's pash. Then the expression is generally considered a success. If not, number four, having a whinge. Whinge, to complain. I'm familiar with that one. Enough of your whinging. That's British. I'm from England, and I've had enough of your whinging. Means whining, to whinge, to whine, or to complain. The rejected party from the above may end up in a corner nursing an alcoholic beverage and having a whinge or a sook, S-O-O-K. You can whinge, sook, means soak, soaking in tears, soak. I bet that's what it comes from. You can whinge about anything, really. The weather or your boss are always good targets. Australians like to consider themselves fairly happy-go-lucky people, though. So complaints typically flung at the following group. Number 5, POM. P-O-M. A derogatory word for a British person. POM. Does that come from poof? Which is, Yeah. A pom, often a whinging pom, sometimes also pommy or pom with an E at the end, is a British person. Although it was thought to be an acronym for Prisoner of Mother England. Etymologists now believe this to be false. It more likely came from quote-unquote pomegranate, which adapted from the rhyming slang for immigrant Jimmy Grant. He's Jimmy Grant. Oh, it's another slang for immigrant. It's Jimmy Grant. Pomegranate, Jimmy Grant. Fucking not fleas. Thank God there's no fleas in here. I got fruit flies or gnats or whatever. It's time to clean out these, the P valve in the drains. They will breed in spring. It happens in everyone's home usually. This Australian accent may have been inspired by the color of English people under the harsh Antipodean sun. I've never heard how that word's supposed to be pronounced. But number 6, it's chokers in here. It's crowded in here. Oh, it's chokers. I'm choking. I can't breathe. The full word is chock-a-block. Oh, it's chokers in here. It's chokers in here. Full word is chock-a-block, which is clearly one syllable too many. Jeez, it's chokers in here. Is as Australian as meat pie, i.e. very Australian. Also, Australian meat pies, the boomerang things, they're okay, but their meat pies are pretty damn good. Food and drink. Oh my God, I'm loving this. This is a good way to get into it. Number 7, I bet I can figure out what this means. Crack open a tinny. Crack open a tin of beer or a can of beer. Australian expressions related to alcohol are many and varied. A tinny is a can, while a stubby, is a bottle. You'll need to put them in the esky cooler when you go camping or picnicking. It goes without saying that you'll need to buy an extra slab or crate/case, so there's enough for everyone. You can buy everything from a bottle-o. Liquor store, a bottle-o. Down the road. Just practice this sentence. Hey, you could pop down to the bottle-o and pick us up a slabs. Pick up a couple of slabs and chuck one in the sky. Good on with you. Number 8. Ooh, I've heard this one before. To chunder. I saw snooking and then chunder. To throw up. This one is most easily explained in the practice. Jacko had a couple too many drinks and he couldn't quite make it to the dunny. Ended up chundering all over the living room. Dunny equals outdoors toilet. Number 8, Bobby. Come on, you probably heard that one. Put another shrimp on the bobby. Meaning a barbecue. Australian barbecues are more than just a meal. They're a statement of purpose and a way of life. Many things can be thrown onto the barbie. Prawns, snags, sausages. I like that word, snags. This is what fun little colloquialisms these are. Steaks, hamburgers, kebabs, veggie skewers, fish, and so on. Nowadays, tofu is also acceptable. Beverage pairings also include many tinnies or stubbies as you can handle, plus champas. Champas, champagne. We call that champers too. And of course, Cab Sav, Cabernet Sauvignon, a very cultured selection. Short and sweet. Number 10, Avo. The afternoon, as in, saw Tomo at the pub this Avo. He must have been chucking a sickie. An Australian expression for pretending to be ill to skip work. Also, I've seen this meme played out before in short little clips on social media, video-based social media platforms about there's the American dream, which what's the American dream now? To get the fuck out of this country. That's my American dream. Whereas the Australian dream is compo. You won the lotto if you got the compo. That means workers or workman's comp, as they say. Number 11, Siggy. There's a really good fucking song I heard years ago. Smoko. Fuck off. Don't talk to me. I'm having smoko. dude's on a smoke break. Don't talk to me. I'm having smoko. Something like that. Ciggy, a cigarette. Although prohibitively expensive, ciggies, also known as durries or darts, they're called darts in Australian too. Shoot a dart, you know, have a dart. I like that. Give me a dart. Can I bum a dart? Are somehow still around in Australia. They're prohibitively expensive in Australia. That sucks. Number 12, mozzie. Ooh, mosquito. As in, mate, these mozzies are killing me. Number 13, oh, come on. Brekkie. We call that breakfast. Breakfast, brekkie. Yeah. Australian breakfasts tend to be large and heart attack inducing. They often include eggs, bacon, avo, not to be confused with avocado, beans, sausages, or toast. Number 14, chuck on some tracky dacks. Oh, tracksuit. Chuck on some tracky dacks, meaning to put on some tracksuit pants. I'm seeing a lot of similarity here between UK slang, where it's just you'll find rhymes and then find another word that rhymes with that rhyme. So it may not be directly, you might not be able to draw a straight line between the slang word, and the target meaning. It's zigzags because it bounces off of rhymes upon rhymes upon rhymes. Okay, terms of endearment or abuse. Number 15, wanka, meaning an idiot or arrogant person, literally a masturbator, a wanker. A list of Australian expressions would not be complete without wanker, a general word for the kind of people who think they're better than everyone else. This includes overdressed yuppies or hipster show-offs. Classic usage. What a wanker. Tosser is also acceptable. 16, mate, friend. Come on, we know this one. 17, not heard this one. Bludger, meaning a lazy person. Long before J.K. Rowling decided to name, it was the name of a Quidditch ball, Australians were using bludger to describe people who never leave their couches. It's been specifically adapted as a term of abuse for those who are considered welfare cheats or dole bludgers. Number 18. Ooh, I've heard this one before because of Auntie Donna. I love Auntie Donna. They're Australian cunts. I love those cunts. Auntie Donna, please come on to my podcast or come on to me. I don't know. Either way, I would love to get to talk to you wankers, you cunts, you good cunts is what you are, Auntie Donna. 18, bogan, meaning an uneducated person, often from a low-income family, similar to a chav in Britain, although I first heard of chav from my Kiwi roommate that I had, whom I met at the hostel I was living in, where I met the Australian, and then once the Australian left, the Kiwi moved in. Kiwi's slang for person from New Zealand. The Kiwi moved in. New Zealand accent is even more difficult and a lot more whimsical and silly than the Australian accent. But I met the Kiwi at the hostel, and we ended up getting an apartment together with a couple other people. It was a shithole. I fucking hated having her as a roommate. I literally had to plunge the toilet. She clogged it. Like my first day or two in the place, she clogged the toilet and was like, "It's your problem now," and fucking left. And it was a toilet we had to share, so I had to plunge her fucking shit up to the brim. And she complained all the fucking time. If you're listening to this, you fucking know, and you know you deserve this derision I am throwing your way. Oh, God, the whining. Anyway, she's a bit of a chav, and she's the person who introduced me to the term chav. So, yeah, bogan, chav. Bogans are, well, bogans. They may also be Westies. Oh, that's what a Westie is. People who live on the West, and they are definitely not down with the latest craft beers. You may also hear about Cubs, who are cashed up bogans. Cubs, cashed up bogans. It's not a very polite Australian expression, but it can also be quite endearing, depending on the situation. American tourists, beware. 19, to be pissed, to be drunk. Oh, we know this one. 20, I love this one. Fanny, meaning a vagina. Australians occasionally have to stifle a giggle when Americans talk about how sore their fannies are. Yeah. Number 21, thong. It's a flip-flop or a sandal. Some people call them thongs here too, and I think those people are silly. Some bonus Australian expressions. Ute or oot, U-T-E, a pickup truck. Stunnies, I've heard that one. Sunglasses, stunnies, stunners. Budgie smugglers, I've heard that one too. That's a Speedo, or a rather revealing kind of swimsuit. Get on the ute, slap on the stunnies, snug into your budgie smugglers, and brawly. Don't forget the brawly, the umbrella. And to have a bun in the oven is to be pregnant or preggers. Well, it seems we in America share at least a few phrases and terms with the Australians. And like the Australians, America, United States, I should say, the colonies were people leaving England. Granted, the people in Australia left England for different reasons, and perhaps not willingly, not of their own accord. And the people who went there were from different parts of England and Scotland and Ireland and probably Wales as well. Beautiful country. I've yet to meet a Welsh person that I got along with. I've encountered Welsh before. I also encountered Welsh at the afor couple mentioned before times hostel. They have a habit of rubbing me the wrong way, man. Anyway, all those different accents came together and blended together to create what is now the Australian accents. And I'm sure it was similar for New Zealand. However, I don't know quite the foundational history of New Zealand quite as much. I know it has to do with, the slaughter of indigenous peoples, much like Australia and United States. But that's not really what I wanted to cover in this episode today. In this episode, I wanted to ease into a little fun thing that happened in Australia a while back. It started with the flightless bird known as the emu. And we're going to read about it after I take a sip of water. Be right back. The following sources will be Wikipedia. If you have a problem with that, suck it up and keep watching and or listening. The emu, or Dromaeus novaehollandiae, is a species of flightless bird endemic to Australia, where it is the tallest native bird. It is the only extant member of the genus Dromaeus and the third tallest living bird after its African ratite relatives, the common ostrich and Somali ostrich. The emu's native ranges cover most of the Australian mainland, the Tasmanian Kangaroo Island and King Island subspecies became extinct after the European settlement of Australia in 1788. And these flightless birds, let me tell you, they're killers because the Australians had a war with them. The emu, I like the long EU. Emu, has soft brown feathers, a long neck, and long legs. It can grow up to 1.9 meters, that's 6 feet 3 inches in height. It is a robust bipedal runner that can travel great distances and, when necessary, can sprint at 48 kilometers per hour or 30 miles per hour. It is omnivorous and forages on a variety of plants and insects and can go for weeks without eating. It drinks infrequently but takes in copious amounts of fresh water when the opportunity arises. So, Australia, let's get our terms down here, what we're talking about. Australia, officially the Commonwealth of Australia, is a country comprising the mainland of the Australian continent, the island of Tasmania, and numerous smaller islands. It has a total area of 7.6 million kilometers squared, or 2.9 million square miles, that is, making it the 6th largest country in the world and the largest in Oceania. Australia is the world's flattest and driest inhabited continent. I didn't know it was the flattest. Wow. It is a mega diverse country, and its size gives it a wide variety of landscapes and climates, including deserts in the interior and tropical rainforests along the coast. I've never been to Australia, but I've spent a lot of time there and in Tasmania playing the Tasmanian Devil game on Game Boy when I was a kid. The ancestors of the Aboriginal Australians began arriving from Southeast Asia 50,000 to 65,000 years ago during the last glacial period. By the time British settlement, Aboriginal Australians spoke 250 distinct languages and had one of the oldest living cultures in the world. Australia's written history commenced with Dutch exploration of most of the coastline in the 17th century, that's the 1600s. British colonization began in 1788 with the establishment of the penal colony of New South Wales. By the mid-19th century, most of the continent had been explored by European settlers, and 5 additional self-governing British colonies were established, each gaining responsible government by 1890. The colonies federated in 1901, forming the Commonwealth of Australia. This continued a process of increasing autonomy from the United Kingdom, highlighted by the Statute of Westminster Adoption Act of 1942 and culminating in the Australian Acts of 1986. That's enough of that. Let's get to the Emu War. The Emu War, or Great Emu War, was a nuisance wildlife management military operation undertaken in Australia over the later part of 1932 to address public concern over the number of emus, large flightless birds indigenous to Australia, said to have been destroying crops in the Campion district. I like that name, Campion. In the Campion district with the wheat belt of Western Australia. The unsuccessful, highlight that word, unsuccessful attempts to curb the emu population employed the Royal Australian Artillery soldiers armed with Lewis guns, leading the media to adopt the name Emu War when referring to the incident. Although many birds were killed, the emu population persisted and continued to cause crop destruction. Pause. I need some coffee sipping. Just a second. Following World War I, large numbers of discharged veterans who served in the war were given land by the Australian government to take up farming within Western Australia. They became Westies, often in agriculturally marginal areas. With the onset of the Great Depression in 1929, these farmers were encouraged to increase their wheat crops, with the government promising and failing to deliver assistance in the form of subsidies. Yeah, I'd be pissed. Because of the recommendations and the promised subsidies, wheat prices continued to fall, and by October 1932, the situation intensified, with the farmers preparing to harvest the season's crop while simultaneously threatening to refuse to deliver the wheat. The farmers' difficulties were worsened by the arrival of approximately 20,000 emus. Emus regularly migrate after their breeding season, heading to the coast from the inland regions. With the cleared land and additional water supplies being made available and we know about water now, emus, since I took the time to educate us about emus, some of their habits, especially their hydrating habits, and additional water supplies being made available for livestock by the Western Australian farmers, the emus found that the cultivated lands were good habitat, and they began to foray into the farm territory, in particular the marginal farming land around Chandler and Walgooglan. The emus consumed and spoiled the crops and left large gaps in fences where rabbits could enter and cause further problems. Farmers relayed their concerns about the birds ravaging their crops, and a deputation of ex-soldiers were sent to meet with the Minister of Defense, Sir George Pearce. Having served in World War I, the soldier settlers were well aware of the effectiveness of machine guns, and they requested their deployment. The minister readily agreed, although with concerns attached. The guns were to be used by military personnel. Troop transport was to be financed by the Western Australian government, and the farmers would provide food, accommodation, and payment for the ammunition. What a cheap fuck. Pearce also supported the deployment on the grounds that the birds would make good target practice, while has also been argued that some in the government may have viewed the operation as a way of being seen to be helping the Western Australian farmers, as well as to stave off the brewing secession movement. Towards that end, the cinematographer from Fox Movietone was enlisted. Wait, they sent a camera out there to film this shit? Yo, we used a lot of machine guns in the trenches. Give us machine guns and we can take care of the horde of emus. 20,000. It's like fucking orcs, bro. The goblins are moving in. Nah, it's the emus. It's literal dinosaurs, because birds, they're not from dinosaurs. Birds literally are dinosaurs. FYI, if you didn't know that, look it up. I might do an episode about it if I haven't already. The war. Military involvement was due to begin in October 1932. The quote-unquote war was conducted under the command of Major Gwynedd, Gwynyd, definitely a Welsh name, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's a complicated language. Major Gwynedd Purves, Purves, Wyn Aubrey Meredith. Major Gwynedd Purves Wynedd Aubrey Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery's 7th Heavy Artillery, with Meredith commanding soldiers Sergeant S. McMurray and Gunner J. O'Halloran, I love that name, Halloran, armed with 2 Lewis guns and 10,000, hopefully, maybe it's Louis guns, Lewis, I assume it's Lewis guns, and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The operation was delayed by a period of rainfall that caused the emus to scatter over a wider area. The rain ceased by 2 November 1932, whereupon the troops were deployed with orders to assist the farmers and, according to a newspaper account, collect 100 emu skins so that their feathers could be used to make for hats for light horsemen. First attempt. On 2 November, the men traveled to Campion, where some 50 emus were sighted. As the birds were out of range of the guns, the local settlers attempted to herd the emus into an ambush, but the birds split into small groups and ran so that they were difficult to target. Smart. These birds are fucking smart. Humans are not the smartest animals on the earth. We just happen to have opposable thumbs. We're not the smartest on the earth. We're quite smart, but I don't think we're as smart as we like to think we are. Anyway, makes me think of the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. Like, they're very intelligent, instinctive. They know how to hunt and avoid being hunted. Anyway, nevertheless, while the first full-scale... wait, that's the wrong word. Nevertheless, while the first fusillade from the machine guns was ineffective due to the range, a second round of gunfire was able to kill, quote, a number, unquote, of birds. Later the same day, a small flock was encountered and, quote, perhaps a dozen, unquote, birds were killed. The next significant event was on 4 November. Meredith had established an ambush near a local dam, and more than 1,000 emus were spotted. That's a lot. That's a lot of fucking 1,000? Jesus. Spotted heading towards their position. Oh, they were rushing them? So just a handful of soldiers being rushed by 1,000 6-foot-tall dinosaurs? That would be, I would be shaking in my boots. Were spotted heading towards their position. This time, the gunners waited until the birds were in close proximity before opening fire. Oh, fuck. The gun jammed after only 12 birds were killed, and the remainder scattered before any more could be shot. No more birds were sighted that day. Clever girls, clever. In the days that followed, Meredith chose to move further south, where the birds were, quote, reported to be fairly tame, unquote. But there was only limited success in spite of his efforts. By the 4th day of the campaign, Army observers noted that, quote, each pack seems to have its own leader now, a big, black-plumed bird which stands fully 1.8 meters or 6 feet high and keeps watch while his mates carry out their work of destruction and warns them of our approach, unquote. So smart. Oh, this is interesting. At one stage, Meredith even went so far as to mount one of the guns on a truck, a move that proved to be ineffective, as the truck was unable to gain on the birds, and the ride was so rough that the gunner was unable to fire any shots. By 8 November, 6 days after the first engagement, 2,500 rounds of ammunition had been fired. The number of birds killed is uncertain. One account estimates that it was 50 birds, but other accounts range from 200 to 500. The latter figure being provided by the settlers. Meredith's official report noted that his men had suffered no casualties except for their dignity. So settlers say 200 to 500. One account estimates 50. Let's say maybe about 75 birds total were hit after 2,500 rounds were shot. That is insane. The rate of failure, human failure here, is large. It's high, it's big. The birds won. The birds are outwitted the humans with all their tools. Summarizing the culls, ornithologist Dominic Servantly commented, "The machine gunner's dreams of point-blank fire into serried masses of emus were soon dissipated. The Emu Command had evidently ordered guerrilla tactics." The Emu Command had evidently ordered guerrilla tactics, and its unwieldy army soon split up into innumerable small units that made use of the military equipment uneconomic. A crestfallen field force therefore withdrew from the combat area after about a month. On 8 November, members of the Australian House of Representatives, members in the Australian House of Representatives discussed the operation. Following the negative coverage of the events in the local media that included claims that, quote, only a few, unquote, emus had died, Pierce withdrew the military personnel and the guns on 8 November. After the withdrawal, Major Meredith compared the emus to Zulus, racist, and commenting on the striking maneuverability of the emus, even while badly wounded, said, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. They are like Zulus, whom even dumb bullets cannot stop." Second attempt. Let me take a sip of water. Hold on. Second attempt. After the withdrawal of the military, the emu attacks on crops continued. Farmers again asked for support, citing the hot weather and drought that brought emus invading farms in the thousands. James Mitchell, the Premier of Western Australia, lent his strong support to renewal of the military assistance. At the same time, a report from the base commander was issued that indicated 300 emus had been killed in the initial operation. Inflating numbers, I see. Acting on the requests and the base commander's report, by 12 November, the Minister of Defense approved a resumption of military efforts. He defended the decision in the Senate, explaining why the soldiers were necessary to combat the serious agricultural threat of the large emu population. Although the military had agreed to lend the guns to the Western Australian government on the expectation that they would provide the necessary people, Meredith was once again placed in the field due to an apparent lack of experienced machine gunners in the state. Taking to the field on 13 November 1932, the military found a degree of success over the first 2 days, with approximately 40 emus killed. The third day, 15 November, proved to be far less successful, but by 2 December, the soldiers were killing approximately 100 emus per week. Meredith was recalled on 10 December, and in his report, he claimed 986 confirmed kills with 9,860 rounds at a rate of exactly 10 rounds per confirmed kill. I think they're still massaging these numbers, but that's just me. In addition, Meredith claimed exactly 2,500 wounded birds had also died from their injuries. In assessing the success of the cull, an article in the Coolgardie Miner on 23 August 1935 reported that although the use of machine guns had been, quote, criticized in many quarters, the method proved effective and saved what remained of the wheat, unquote. Aftermath. Despite the problems encountered with the cull, the farmers of the region once again requested military assistance in 1934, 1943, and 1948, only to be turned down by the government. Instead, the bounty system that had been instigated in 1923 was continued, and this proved to be effective. 57,034 bounties were claimed over a 6-month period in 1934. Wow. By December 1932, word of the Emu War had spread, reaching the United Kingdom. Some conservationists were there protested the cull as, quote, extermination of the rare emu, unquote. Dominic Servantley and Hubert Whittle, the eminent Australian ornithologists, described the quote-unquote war as, quote, an attempt at the mass destruction of birds, unquote. Throughout 1930 and onward, exclusion barrier fencing became a popular means of keeping emus out of agricultural areas, in addition to other vermin such as dingoes and rabbits. In November 1950, Hugh Leslie raised the issue of emus in federal parliament and urged Army Minister Josiah Francis to release a quantity of .03 ammunition from the Army for the use of farmers. The minister approved the release of 500,000 rounds of ammunition. Wow. And then legacy. In 2019, a musical adaptation of the story was workshopped in Melbourne by playwright Simeon Yaleloglu and composer James Court. An action comedy film titled The Emu War. I only found out about this when I was looking up these articles, and I want to see it. Action comedy film titled The Emu War premiered at Monster Fest on 22 October 2023. Another action comedy movie retelling the events, written by John Cleese, Monty Franklin, Rob Schneider, Camilla Cleese, and Jim Jeffries, was aiming to begin production in 2023 or 2024. So, that's the Emu War. That's what this episode was about. I hope you had fun. I sure did. Boy, history's fun. Thanks for tuning in. And once again, you can check out bonus episodes. There's a whole bunch of them, and I really do appreciate the support at patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. Thanks for tuning in. I hope to catch you next time. Bye.